Nick Gilbertson here with Breitbart News. I'm with Charlie Spiering, the former Breitbart News Washington White House political correspondent. I'm here with his new book, Amateur Hour, which just came out on Kamala Harris. How did she get her start in politics?
Nick, it's good to see you again, and good to see you again, Purdy. It's really been an interesting year studying Kamala, getting to know how everything started. And you go into any Breitbart comment section, right? You'll see a mention of Willie Brown, right, and how it all started. It's all very true. She got her start with Willie Brown back when she was 29 as an Alameda County prosecutor. Willie Brown started at the age of 60 as running for mayor of San Francisco. And that's when he started dating Kamala, who's relatively unknown. But after he meets her, as he's running for mayor of San Francisco, he spends the year with Kamala Harris on his arm. He's married, but his wife Blanche is estranged at this point. So he's out there demonstrating to high society in San Francisco that he can hold a stable relationship with an adult woman, where typically he's being known as like a playboy running around with multiple women. So it kind of helps his brand a little bit, and then it also lifts Kamala up into high society. And this is how she got her introduction to all the political movers and shakers, all the high society, the big donors. This is how Kamala Harris entered the political scene. And Willie Brown also, gives her plum positions on state boards, paying her a great deal of money, $400,000 within a period of a few years just by being on these boards that Brown appointed her to. You adjust that for inflation, that's almost $1 million in today's money. And so that's how San Francisco, how California got their introduction to Kamala Harris.
Of course, and then we saw Kamala rise up to United States Senator, and now she's, of course, Vice President. What went into the choosing of Kamala to be Biden's running mate in 2020? Like, what factored into that decision?
Yeah, Biden was really looking for kind of like a buddy vice president. He wanted someone who was like really close, simpatico. But he really preferred Gretchen Whitmer in the beginning of this, the search process. At one point, Whitmer was even ready to drop out, but he encouraged her to stay on because she was still one of his favorites. Whitmer, plain-spoken, Midwest politician, really engaged with the kind of person that Biden really wanted to engage with, that middle class, the person who would talk about infrastructure. There's no better way to entertain Joe Biden than to talk about fixing the damn roads. So, but it soon became clear, and this is in 2020 during the summer with the Black Lives Matter riots, it became very clear that he had to pick a woman of color. There were many activists in the Democrat Party that insisted that he pick a black woman of color. He had already promised to pick a woman as a running mate, but at this point, he had to pick a woman of color. Little known fact is that Jill Biden actually preferred Susan Rice over Kamala because Jill Biden still didn't forgive Kamala for what she did during the primary, attacking Joe as a racist. So it was very difficult for the family to get behind the idea of picking Kamala. Barack Obama certainly helped make it easier for Biden to pick Kamala. He reassured Joe that, let bygones be bygones. It's time to save this country, and Kamala is the way to do it. So that's a big reason why he ultimately selected Kamala Harris, even though it wasn't his favorite.
Right. And Charlie, looking forward, President Biden's come under a ton of scrutiny right now regarding his age, his mental acuity, especially after Robert Hur's, damning report in the classified documents case, and then his disastrous press conference after. Just wondering, what's the play here for Democrats? Is it, stand pat with Biden and Harris, or if they were to make a change, do they have to take both of them out? Could they switch, Biden out and keep Harris? Like, what are your thoughts on what that strategy would look like if they were to make a change?
Yeah, absolutely. Their number one goal right now is to make sure that Joe Biden can make it to November. They still think that they can do it that way. There's a little bit of hesitancy and a little bit of thinking about who could replace him at any point, but at this point, that's their number one goal, because if Biden doesn't make it, if he has to drop out, they are not going to immediately anoint Kamala as the successor. There's too many people with big dollar donors. There's too many people backing other candidates. So there will be a little bit of a behind-the-scenes war to figure out who ultimately gets that slot. So it'll be a war with Kamala Harris. There's even some people that prefer Gavin Newsom. There's even people that would rather see a Pete Buttigieg or an Elizabeth Warren. there will be a big behind-the-scenes scramble to sort of try to leapfrog Kamala Harris. But the problem with that, if you do that, you risk alienating a huge part of your base that you were trying to satisfy by picking Kamala in the first place. It's where they're in a really tough position if Biden can't make it across the finish line, and that's really why they're still trying to believe that Biden can take the party to November.